Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. This is John Dolan from UC Davis Continuing and Professional Education. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. This is the Cybersecurity Immersion Academy information session, and this is a partnership between UC Davis Continuing and Professional Education, or CPE, and Socratic Arts. Our agenda today will be a few introductions, then we're going to go over the Cybersecurity Immersion program. We'll give you what the actual course requirements are. What's the career outlook for this field? As you know, this is a booming field right now. We'll be presenting some stats along with a presentation from a cybersecurity influencer. There's some program discounts that we'll talk about. How do you finance your education? And then we'll have a formal Q&A session at the end, but we certainly welcome questions as we go along. And you can use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen to type in any question, and we'll either answer that dynamically, or we'll have our subject matter expert, Ray, answer the questions. But we invite questions throughout the entire session. The contacts here: I'm John Dolan. I'm a public education specialist. There's Lynette Velasco. She's the program coordinator assistant. And that's Ray from Socratic Arts. He's a senior VP. He'll be joining us as we actually go into the course description. A little bit about UC Davis CPE. We provide learning opportunities that transform organizations and communities. And what does that really mean? Well, that means that we mostly target adults in our education, and adults who are looking to upskill, reskill, or in some cases transform their lives. And we offer a wide variety of courses. We have over 60,000 students enrolling every year, coming in from all 50 states and about 110 countries. Mostly we're looking for the adult learner who, again, is trying to upskill, find new skills, or looking for ways to start their career or transform their lives.
Okay.
Ray?
Okay. Hi, I'm Ray Maurice. A little bit about me. I have a PhD from the University of Texas at Austin. I've been a professor at Northwestern University and also at Carnegie Mellon University. And we started a company in 2002 called Socratic Arts. And you probably haven't heard of us, but the company was founded by a visionary cognitive science and artificial intelligence professor, Roger Schenck. And as artificial intelligence researchers, we looked at human cognition to provide a model for building intelligent systems. And when we looked at learning, which is really a fundamental human capability, Roger in particular was struck that the way people are taught in school at all levels, from kids to adult learners, does not align with how people naturally think and learn. And so what is school like? Well, a professor like me lectures at you. You mostly ignore me, update your Facebook timeline, or post to Instagram or Twitter. And then periodically you get some small, well-defined homework problems, and you do them. You don't get much feedback on the results, and then you take a test once in a while. Well, cognitive science research tells us that that does not promote the transfer of knowledge and skills effectively from the learning situation to application in the professional workplace. So what does? Well, the two situations have to be relevantly similar. And so what that means in our realization of this in an educational approach is that we will put you in an authentic professional role, a role you aspire to, like being, say, a security operations center analyst, a digital forensic analyst, a malware analyst. And you'll do the work professionals will do, and you'll learn the knowledge and skills just in time as they're relevant to what you're doing. And that way, the knowledge is encoded and indexed appropriately to be recalled when you need to apply it in your professional work. And so how do you learn? Well, there's a lot of online material we provide, but really the important thing, the secret sauce, if I can use that phrase, is expert mentors who are always available to give you help, advice, and feedback on your work. So the Cyber Immersion Academy is 100% online, but you're not working alone. It's very social. You will have fellow students. You're encouraged to collaborate with your fellow students, although we do insist that everyone do the hands-on work individually. And as I said, you'll have mentors who are always available to give you help, advice, and feedback. They won't lecture to you, but they will do things like help you to solve problems, helping you to figure out things for yourself. They might demonstrate technologies. And very importantly, they might help you to reflect on the broader applicability of what you're learning. This program was funded by the Department of Defense, the development of the program. They actually spent $1.6 million of your taxpayer money on this. And the goal was to take people who have the right personality, people who are intensely curious, people who won't give up on a problem no matter how difficult it is, and people who are predisposed towards self-directed learning and who also have basic computer skills, and make them job ready for entry-level cybersecurity or cyber operations jobs in 6 months. And so that's what we've done. The program has since expanded to 30 weeks, which is a little longer than 6 months, but it's still about in that ballpark. And because of this authentic work context in which you learn, we can also emphasize a lot of skills beyond purely technical skills. Analytical thinking, communication, and again, will make you much better as a self-directed learner through the process. And you can progress through the program flexibly because the program is split into 3 distinct courses. And you can take a course, take a break, take another course, or you can just go right through them if that's what you want to do.
Ray, we've got our first question.
Yes.
Do you need to be a computer engineer to enroll in the Immersion Academy?
No, you absolutely do not need to be. Yeah, we have a lot of people with computer science and IT backgrounds, and who of course are very successful in this. We've also had some very notable successes of people with no technical background whatsoever. When we do a demo in a minute, you'll actually see a video of a young woman who was a high school dropout working as a massage therapist. She's one of our success stories. A couple of recent success stories: a forklift operator at Costco, and a young woman with a degree in early childhood education working as a nanny. You will need to learn a lot of computer-related knowledge and skill as you go along, but really, if you're the right kind of person, if you enjoy this, you can do it.
Great. Ray, before we play the video from Malcolm, I wanted to give you just a snapshot of the job outlook in this field in the Sacramento area. One of the roles that I have is to make sure that our programs are market ready, which means that once a student completes a program, do they have the skills to match up with what employers are looking for? And that's exactly what this program is going to do. You're going to have job-ready skills upon graduation where you can get an entry-level position in this booming field. And Malcolm will show you the pathway, but just within 30 miles of downtown Sacramento, there are over 42,000 current job openings in cybersecurity. Now, these are all levels of jobs, but that gives you an indication of how open this field is. And those jobs are not going to be filled because there are not enough people being trained in this area. And if you look at the Sacramento area, then go into the Bay Area, that number will double. So it's a booming field right now. Plenty of corporations, both in the private and public sector, are looking for trained employees And this Immersion Academy will give you the skills to go ahead and apply and get that first job in cybersecurity.
Thanks. If I could add one more statistic, according to cyberseek.org, there are currently 504,000 open cybersecurity jobs in the United States.
Great, great.
Okay, so I will play the video now.
Yeah, so if you look at the entry-level tech worker, you really probably have two fundamental roles. You've got a help desk person and you've got a systems administrator. And, and those are good roles, but when you think about it and you put it on an axis here, you got skill right here and then scope. So relatively speaking, these roles are limited. You're bottleneck there. And with the right cybersecurity education and acumen, you can really take these roles and kind of position yourself up to a SOC analyst. And then from there, again, you've grown your skill, you've grown your scope, you've grown your income, you've probably more than doubled it overnight once you move from here to there. And then from that entry-level SOC analyst, based upon your skill, your desire, your hunger to do things, you can, again, kind of pivot up and you can be more of a SOC 2, more of a senior analyst. You can, pivot into being a threat hunter. You can pivot into being a security engineer. And then from there, the world's limitless, depending upon your desire, your passion, and where you want to go. And if you want to have management stuff, then you got a whole other transition to jump. But with the basics of all this, you can go from this making $35,000, $45,000 a year into the 70,000, into the 90,000. These roles, 125 to 150, and from there you can keep going. So, the cybersecurity job marketplace is one that's amazing and it's growing, just like the tech industry has been growing for decades. But, I'm an economist by background, right? So you look at, simple supply and demand. You've got, supply over here, and that's how many people are in the workforce. And then you have, demand up here. And what we've got is this ever-growing demand that's growing like this, because every company is becoming a technology company. Heck, even Pampers is now putting sensors into diapers. We've got cement companies that are layering in silicon to sell big data and analytics back to municipalities to figure out when roads deteriorate. They'll soon hook into cars for autonomous vehicles and with your Fitbits and all that stuff. So every company is becoming a technology company. And with every company becoming a technology company, what does that do? That drives a level of cyber risk, which then means we have ever-growing demand. But what we have right now is also a fixed supply. We're stuck, and we need to grow the supply to fulfill the demand. This is a journey with no finish line. This will never stop.
Okay, were there some questions? I saw something blinking.
No questions from the attendees at this point. I just want to tell everyone that was Malcolm Harkins. He is a guru in the cybersecurity field. You can go follow him on LinkedIn. He's quite the guru for the market. Let me check one question for you, Ray.
Okay.
One of the panelists, one of the attendees asked, why are there private companies taking on an educational initiative in conjunction with public universities? Let's see, let me try to parse that. So I think the question is around the partnership between UC Davis and Socratic Arts. If so, I'll have a first go at that, and then Ray, you can fill it in.
Okay.
From UC Davis's perspective, when we have an emergent area such as cybersecurity, we sometimes partner with a private company that's been vetted by the university and approved by the university to put forward their content. The content is approved by our dean, and obviously the company is vetted by UC Davis. So we do this as an initial market need, and we've done this with other partners besides Socratic Arts. We have boot camps from third-party providers, but most importantly, when we identify an urgent, emergent need, such as cybersecurity, and we don't have courses ready to go, we think it's opportune for the Northern California, Sacramento market to have a course in place to develop skills so that we can fill the market needs around that.
Okay, and a little more background about us. We have a 30-year history of developing effective training, and we do a lot of custom training work. Our clients are some of the biggest companies in the world. We work with all the large consulting firms, many of the large financial services firms. We work with the government. We work with some foreign companies. And something that we've been doing since about 2012 is we have been partnering with universities to offer high quality online technical education. And because many schools don't necessarily have the capability in-house to develop and deliver a program like the one we're talking about today. And we do, very basically. Okay, should I go on, John?
Yep, no other questions at this point, but thank you for that question.
Okay, so the program is roughly divided into defense and offense, or attack if you prefer. And the defensive course is further subdivided into a short introductory course, and then a more advanced course in cybersecurity defense. And you might say, well, why did we split the defensive course? Well, the reason we did is we wanted a relatively short learning experience available at a lower cost that would allow you to see if you like this kind of work and if you think you'll be good at it. And also enable us to give you an honest assessment if we think you will succeed as a working professional in this field. And so you can devote a few weeks to that and you can find out. And this might lead to a great new career for you, or you might actually decide when you get into the details of this kind of work that it isn't for you. So what are these courses? Well, we call the first course immediate immersion. And the reason it's immediate immersion is because, again, there's not going to be a goofy professor like me lecturing at you. You're going to be put in an authentic role and you're going to do the real work. So the first thing we ask you to do is to think like an attacker and to exploit a vulnerable website. So you say, well, why in the world would you think like an attacker? Well, attackers are oftentimes smart and planful people, and a good defender can think like an attacker. It makes them a better defender. And then we will get into the one of the bread and butter skills of people who work in what are called security operations centers. You heard Malcolm mention the idea of a SOC, that's a security operations center. And those are the people who monitor systems and networks for intrusion. And so they do that work. Sometimes looking at the network traffic at the level of the individual packets on the network, and sometimes at a higher level looking at the logs. We start you with low-level packet analysis. When you go into the more advanced course, you'll begin by analyzing a remote intrusion attempt. Again, you'll look at the low-level network traffic. Then you'll move up and look at the same attack in the logs in something called the Security Information and Event Management System, or SIEM. After you've done that, you'll investigate a very complex cyber attack, again, using the SIEM. You will be able to identify and extract malware involved in the attack. You will use online sandboxes to determine what are called its indicators of compromise. What are the signs that a system has been infected by it? Then you will do memory forensics and you'll do disk forensics. And that is actually kind of the gold standard for determining if a system's been infected. And then something that's very important is you'll end up having to write comprehensive reports for senior management, for technical management, and for the incident responders who are going to go in and clean up the mess that you've analyzed in your investigation. And this reporting is crucial because unless you can communicate your findings effectively, they're of limited value. Some people stop there and they're content with just the defensive side, but some people want a broad foundation in all of the skills. So those people go on and take the attack course, which we also call reverse engineering and exploitation. So you'll begin by reverse engineering suspicious unknown executable files to figure out what they do. After you've done that, you'll be able to trace those files to a Russian cybercrime group, and you'll conduct open source intelligence gathering about the group, because you're going to go undercover in the fictional narrative of the course, working for the government agency. They will ask you to prove your capabilities by exploiting, DNS server running in a corporate environment. You will do that, and then your exploit will stop working, and you'll have to figure out why, and you'll have to apply a more advanced technique to regain the foothold on that system that you need. You'll experiment with a variety of ways of evading antivirus software, which unfortunately is really easy. Then you will write and deploy custom malware. You'll conduct a spear phishing attack against a company, again, to gain a foothold on a machine, in this case, in the HR department of the company. Then you will use what's called SQL injection to exploit the company's database, and you'll exfiltrate their personnel data. Since you're working for the good guys, the data will be scrubbed before it's passed to the bad guys. And then human intelligence determines that the FSB, Russian State Security, is behind the cybercrime group. So you will plan and execute in simulation, I hasten to add, an attack against the FSB. And those are the courses that compose the Cyber Academy. Was there another question, John?
Yeah, we have actually two questions. The first question is, would it be helpful to have a good fundamental understanding of Linux for all the scenarios discussed here?
Well, I mean, you will need to learn some Linux. You can learn it as you go. You don't necessarily have to be a Linux guru to start. But a lot of the systems you'll defend will end up being Windows systems, and those are also the systems you'll end up exploiting quite often. Sometimes, servers, like I mentioned that DNS server, I mentioned exploiting a website. Those will be running on Linux machines, so you will have to learn some Linux just in time if you don't already know it. Mm-hmm. The most important thing to know is to get a basic understanding of computer networks and protocols. And we do recommend some pre-work when you enroll in the program to bring you up to speed on those things if you're not already familiar with them.
Yeah, good question. Thanks for answering that, Ray. The second question is, there's some concern about how technical the courses are. Earlier, you spoke to a mentor program. Could you expand on that a bit?
Well, we have knowledgeable mentors who are experts in cybersecurity, and they will not simply spoon feed you answers when you have a problem, but they will help you to find answers for yourself. And they will provide resources when you need them to help you learn things. And we have actually a very comprehensive set of online resources for the program as well. But the mentors are really always there. They're there during all reasonable hours, maybe not 3 in the morning, but they're there during all reasonable hours to give you help when you need it. Great, we're caught up with on all the questions now, Ray. Thanks. Okay, so let's press on. So the approach that we are using here is called the story-centered curriculum approach. We developed this when I was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and at the Silicon Valley campus of Carnegie Mellon, we graduated over 1,200 students in the 10 years I was there with master's degrees taught 100% this way, and hundreds more Carnegie Mellon students took individual courses taught this way. And so this is not an experimental approach to learning. At this point, we've definitely proven that it's highly effective for imparting knowledge and skills that will transfer very naturally to the workplace. One of my Carnegie Mellon students once said, the things I learn on Monday, I apply at work on Wednesday. And yeah, of course, the question occurred to me, so what does he do on Tuesday? But anyway, you know, the point of this is immediately applicable knowledge and skills. And as I mentioned before, there's a strong emphasis on skills beyond technical skills. Understanding novel problems, researching solutions, implementing those solutions, communicating effectively, and again and again and again, self-directed learning. In a field like this where things are changing so rapidly, there's not always someone to give you an answer. And sometimes you need to go and learn the answer for yourself. And again, the mentors are crucial to the effectiveness of the learning experience. And if you talk to students who've been through the program, many students say the mentors are the best part of the program. So we've been talking in the abstract at this point. So why don't we take a look at the program itself and maybe make things more tangible. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so when I do a demo of the course, I always begin with an apology. I'm going to play some video for you, and the video is not going to be perfect. You know, going through the Zoom screen sharing software to your machine, but it is professionally produced video, and if you were directly accessing it from your machine, it would look great.
There's not been as many protections as there should be in most, if not all, of these industrial control systems. And now they're connected to the internet.
We have the capability to do X, Y, and Z. And it can be done without ever setting foot in your nation. It can be done remotely.
Our critical infrastructure is very vulnerable.
We're 10 years behind the world's best hackers. There's probably really only about 1,000 people in our country right now that really have the level of skills necessary to defend our infrastructure. That number needs to be 100,000.
Okay, so it goes on, sets the scene more fully. But you know, Mr. DiGiovanni, who was the sponsor of the project when he was in the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense, really lowballed the need because he says 100,000, and as I told you earlier, the current job openings are 504,000. So we've kind of been through what the courses are, and they teach a broad range of skills. The program, again, is 100% learning by doing. That means that it will not be the traditional lecture, homework, and test model. Rather, you'll be given an authentic task and asked to accomplish it. And you can consult online learning resources. You can collaborate with your fellow students, and you can certainly ask the mentors for help and advice. You will meet with the mentors and a small group of your fellow students regularly, once or twice a week, depending on need. And then your mentors are always available on demand to help you when you need individual help. Every task is introduced by a fictional email or video call from a fictional boss. We give you something called the project roadmap, which is a high-level work plan for accomplishing the task. It will keep you on track, but it's not so detailed that you can follow it by rote without some, you know, creative thought, trying things, making some mistakes, trying other things. But that's the way you really learn. We have learning resources that are specifically keyed to things in the plan of attack to help you to learn things just in time. And you'll consult them the way a professional does on the job. You'll go in and be efficient to learn just enough, just in time to accomplish something. You won't consult them like a student trying to memorize everything possible for a test, which you'll forget probably a few hours later. You'll submit your work in a learning management system, which will route it to your mentor. Your mentor will provide feedback, generally very rapidly. And the feedback, especially on a first submission, is typically not great job, but it's a lot of comments on how to improve your work. And then we use what's called a mastery-based approach, which means that you will be asked to redo your work and improve it if you don't exhibit sufficient mastery of the knowledge and skills that we're targeting with the task you're working on. As I said earlier, your mentor will have regular meetings with small groups of students. Sometimes they're group problem-solving sessions. Sometimes they're technology demonstrations. And most importantly, periodically, the mentor will facilitate a discussion in which you reflect on what you've just done and the more general applicability of the knowledge and skills. What can you take away and apply elsewhere, say in the professional workplace? We will teach you things in this program that are illegal if done without appropriate legal authority. And we have zero tolerance for people abusing the things they learn. Our disapproval might be the least of it, though, because in many cases, if you do these things, you are committing a felony. So zero tolerance and just don't do it. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this immediate immersion course I mentioned. Okay, some introductory material. A recapitulation of how the course works. This is the pre-work that we recommend. We recommend that you download a tool called Wireshark and you do some kind of small warm-ups, and some colleagues at the University of Massachusetts very kindly made these available to us. You do need some learning resource support you as you do this. So we recommend the book Practical Packet Analysis. And if you don't have a pre-existing knowledge of networks and protocols, Cisco's produced a series of videos. So we suggest you watch at least the first 3 of those videos. And if you're interested in some more information and some advice about starting a cybersecurity career, we also recommend a blog by a woman named Leslie Cathcart, who blogs about how to start a career in cybersecurity. Okay, again, we recommend buying Practical Packet Analysis. Oh, we got a call from our boss. It's time to start.
Welcome to Cyber Team 10. I'm afraid there's not much time for introductions and orientation. I'm going to need you to get to work right away. I'll follow up with an email to get you started. I'm sorry there's not more time to train you, but we're on the front lines and there are lives at stake. You'll have to learn on the job.
Wow, so much for easing into things, right? Okay. So he did send us an email. And the email says that human intelligence intercepted a message between members of a cybercrime group. And the message says that the website of a key supplier of the United States Navy is vulnerable to something called a local file inclusion exploit. If you're an experienced hacker, these few lines of text tell you everything you need to know to exploit the website, get at the password files that are stored on the server, crack them, and since the webmaster is a super user, you then have complete control of the server. And admittedly, this is a little artificial. We'll get to that in a sec. But what your boss says is they don't want to leave this site vulnerable. They also don't want to raise any red flags with the attackers because they don't know who they are. So what your boss wants you to do is your boss wants you to verify that indeed the site is vulnerable to this attack. Okay. Something very important to note, you will not do this work on your own computer. The work involves vulnerable machines like this web server. It sometimes involves working with real current malware. We don't want to expose those machines to the internet. We don't want to risk that malware getting out and infecting your machine or any network you're on. So all of your work will be done in a private cloud hosted in Amazon Web Services. And you will remotely connect to a workstation and do all your work from that workstation, the virtual workstation in Amazon Web Services. Okay, sometimes students have trepidation when beginning this. So we videoed some of our early students talking about their learning experiences. And this is the young woman I spoke about, the high school dropout who was working as a massage therapist. And now 2 years later, she's a respected member of the international information security community. She presents at conferences, and she also blogs about beginning careers in cybersecurity. And this was her reaction to this task.
It doesn't matter if it never would have occurred to you to do something malicious, because it will occur to somebody out there. And you'll be completely vulnerable when that somebody finds your server if you haven't taken steps to protect it in advance. And you can't take steps to protect it until you've put yourself in the shoes of an intruder interested in getting in and messing around.
Okay, so she goes on and she talks about how she initially felt bad about being asked to do this. She thought she was a good person. She didn't want to break into other people's computers. But then she realized how essential it is to learn to think like an attacker. This is the project roadmap for this task. So the first thing we ask you to do is to get used to this virtual environment in which you'll be working. So you will log in to an Amazon workspace, which is a private cloud. You will get a Windows 10 virtual desktop machine in that environment. So even if you have a Mac, too bad you're on Windows for this task. And we ask you to download and install the Mozilla Firefox browser. We could have done it for you, but we just want you to touch the environment and get used to it before we throw you into the deep end of the pool. So into the deep end of the pool we go. We're going to break into the web server and verify its vulnerability. So our early students had a lot of questions about some aspects of the program. So we videoed some government recommended experts answering those questions. So one question with this task is, gee, is it okay to do this? I'm doing it for a good reason. I'm not a malicious hacker, but I'm going to break into this site and maybe I'm going to fix it. So is that okay?
So I'm out on my favorite site and I happen to notice that there's a directory traversal bug inside of their site. People ask, well, is it okay for me to go fix that bug on their site? The answer is no. It is absolutely not okay to hack another person's site, even if you're trying to do good or fix the site.
Okay, so what he does is he goes on and he talks about something called responsible disclosure. So your obligation is to disclose it privately to the owners of the site. And if they don't fix it within a reasonable length of time, you can fix it publicly. But in reality, you can actually never go into somebody else's site and do this without their permission. So we begin by talking about a local file inclusion exploit. So you guys know how a website works, right? So a website is just a collection of files. And there's typically a file for each page. And so what your browser is doing is just saying, send me the file for this page, and then it renders it for you. Well, at certain places in a website, if there is no bounds checking, you can request files that are not part of the website, but they're elsewhere on the web server, which is just what you're going to do. You're going to hunt for and find a file where the hash encoded passwords are stored. Before you do that, you do need to explore the site and see if there's anything suspicious on the site. I mean, did the people, cybercrime group who did this, install malware on the site already? That's certainly something you want to find out. So we talk a little about how websites request pages, and then we introduce a tool called Burp Suite. And it's a tool that's going to sit between your web browser and the server It's going to allow you to redirect queries. So you say, well, wow, how do I learn to use Burp Suite? It sounds complicated. Well, we have not one, but we have 4 video tutorials on aspects of using Burp Suite. And you can see they're time coded. So if you want to refer back to things, it makes it easier to do so. We also have a tutorial on local file inclusion vulnerabilities and how to fix them on a website. The web server is a Linux machine. So in case you're not familiar with Linux, we do have some resources on how passwords are stored in Linux. So there is a password file in Linux systems, but it turns out the passwords aren't stored there. They're stored in another file called shadow. And you need to find that file. And then the passwords will be stored hash encoded. So you won't be able to use them directly, but there is a tool called John the Ripper, which is a password cracking tool. And you can use John the Ripper to crack those passwords. So here, using John the Ripper, you might say, why is it legal? And the idea is, gee, a sysadmin could test passwords to see how good they are, but yeah, sure, right. So you're asked to write a report to your boss, and you will submit that work in a learning management system. Very quickly, let me show you the next task. You don't have this button. The course unfolds a step at a time for you. I can actually, disable that, and I can navigate everywhere. Is there a question, John? I saw something flashing.
No, we're good, Ray.
Okay, great. So anyway, in the second task, you're going to be working with a fictional experienced cybersecurity analyst, a defensive analyst. And you can see he's a real people person. Great to meet you. Now the pleasantries are out of the way, let's get to work. So what happened here is the Security Operations Center of the American Embassy in London noticed suspicious network traffic going to and from the personal computer of a military aide. And they have what's called full packet capture. So they captured the traffic and they sent the file to Cyber Team 10 for analysis. And it's been given to you. And you need to figure some things out. Was it malicious? Where did it originate? What was the result? Was the guy's computer infected with malware? If so, what is the malware? And also, you will probably ask and answer other questions that are interesting and valuable to people as part of your investigation. So you should certainly report on those as well. So those 2 tasks taken together are the immediate immersion course, and they provide kind of a good broad introduction, hands-on to cybersecurity. And that is the end of the demo. So are there any questions after the demo?
We don't have any questions listed, Ray. I think one thing that we've discussed in previous seminars is just the persona of the successful student in the program. What are some of the personality traits and qualities that a student may have entering your program, and then using those qualities to succeed in the program?
Okay, well, the Department of Defense actually did some research on that, and they determined that personality traits are more important than technical skills. And so what we like to see in a student is we like to see somebody who's intensely curious about how things work, someone who will not give up on a problem no matter how difficult it is. The attackers won't give up, so you can't give up either. And third, somebody who's predisposed towards self-directed learning. Because as we mentioned earlier, there's not always someone around you can ask. And another thing that I'd like to add is you also have to have very good attention to detail. As you can imagine, when you're looking at things like network traffic, it's very detail-oriented work. So if you don't like detail-oriented work, then you should take that into account. And you do need to have good basic computer skills and not be at all intimidated by computers, because you saw you're mucking around with computers at a fairly low level. And so if that excites you, great. If it scares you, then you should think about that when making a decision.
And the only other question that's come through is there's a strong government approach here, but we are using cybersecurity for not just the public sector, but for private sector. So for instance, hospitals need cybersecurity experts. Almost any venue that has a digital presence needs a cybersecurity expert. Is that true, Ray?
That is absolutely true. And although we said it in a government context, every skill you learn is directly applicable in the private sector as well. So just to give you an example, we have a partnership with the largest managed security service provider in Latin America. MSSP is a company to which other companies outsource the monitoring of their systems and networks. And we train all of their entry-level people. And so they are not a government organization, they are a private company. As a matter of fact, they're a division of Telmex. And so, all of these skills are absolutely directly applicable in the private sector as well as the public sector, even the stuff on the attack side, because beyond thinking like an attacker, there is a job role called penetration tester, or more generally, red team member. And, those are certainly careers many people aspire to. And then third, there actually are some jobs working with government agencies doing stuff on the attack side for real.
We've got a good question in asking about whether or not the program is designed for a specific role in cybersecurity versus, operations, administration, analysis. So, are we training people for specific jobs in cybersecurity through this program?
No, the purpose of the program is to give you a broad foundation in all of the key areas of cybersecurity. If you look at the job for which you are likely to be most ready after graduating from the program, it is being a security operations center analyst, because that is one of the most typical entry-level jobs. So you'll be at work monitoring systems and networks and investigating possible attacks. But that being said, you also get good training in digital forensics. You get some basic training in malware analysis. You get a lot of training on what you might think of as the penetration testing side. Although let me hasten to add that it's really considered by many people to be essential for a penetration tester to have experience on the defensive side first, because their job is to work with defenders and make the defenses more effective. So it's better to have some actual experience on the defensive side before you move into that sort of a role.
Okay, we are all caught up.
Okay.
One more question just came in. What's the requested education levels for these entry-level positions?
I think that doesn't matter. I think what matters is skill. I mean, you need to certainly have some polish and be able to communicate effectively. You need to obviously be a kind of an intelligent person who's willing to work hard. But as far as, for example, having a college degree, a few years ago, I would have said, yeah, you got to have a college degree, but that's changing. There's this whole notion of new collar employment. And so in some of these fields, especially in tech fields, what you can do is much more important than whether you have a piece of paper.
Okay, we're all caught up.
Okay, great. So to review, you do need to be reasonably computer literate. You need to like computers. you have to successfully complete that first course, immediate immersion, to go on and register in the subsequent courses. And because the Department of Defense funded the development of this program, only US citizens and green card holders can register for the attack course. And you do need to have a modern laptop or desktop computer with a high-speed internet connection, because you will be connecting to and working in a private cloud environment. And if you don't have a kind of a reasonable computer and a fast internet connection, it won't be as good an experience as if you do. Okay,
so,
I'll hand this off to you, Lynette.
yep. So here are the program costs and start dates. So as you can see, the Cybersecurity Immediate Immersion course, again, the first course in the series that you need to pass in order to continue to the next courses, begins on July 13th. And then we have another section that will open for enrollment on August 31st. So those are two upcoming dates to start the program if you're interested in the summer. And the costs associated with the courses are listed as well. The Cybersecurity Defense course the schedule has not yet been finalized, but we're looking at an October start date. And then the attack course will likely begin in January in the 2021 year. So that's the schedule if you're looking to go through the entire series versus just, of course, taking one course. So those are the costs and the dates, and we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so here are some discounts that are applicable to the courses, and this information is also listed on our website at cpe.ucdavis.edu in the Student Services tab. So there's links above, and you can find more information on that. And so we have a $50 Cal Aggie Alumni Association discount. So you do not need to actually be an alumni of UC Davis, but there's a membership associated with this group that you can pay for. And then once you're a member, you can use that discount for any one of these courses or other courses offered at CPE. There's also a 10% off discount for a group of 3 or more. So this would be ideal for employers thinking about sending more than three or more of their employees for training. And then for attending this information session, we're offering a $100 discount applicable to any one course. And then there's also a 10% early enrollment discount, but you must enroll 14 days before the start date. So previously listed in the slide, that was July 13th and August 31st. So if you enroll 14 days prior to that, you automatically get a discount applied to the course when you enroll online. And also please note that you cannot stack the discounts. So you can only choose one discount to apply to the course that you're enrolling in. So just be mindful of that when you're thinking about the discount that's best suited for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so here's a little bit of more information on other ways to finance your education. So here we have listed the contact information for some of our student services staff who works with students on securing additional forms of funding for programs. So we have Tina Erke, who works with students who are looking for private student loans to fund their education, because just to make you all aware, we are a self-funded unit of the university. So what this means is that we cannot offer traditional forms of financial aid. So that would be anything applicable to the FAFSA or other grants. So you would need to talk to Tina Erke if you were thinking about acquiring a private loan. And she also works with students who work with state agencies or other departments like that related to the state with special funding programs. So for example, the Department of Rehabilitation or the Employer Education Department, Workers' Compensation, and all of that. And then finally, we have Debbie Sellers, who works with students looking to use their veterans education benefits for any of their programs. So their contact information is listed above, and it's also on our website. Again, on the Student Services tab, you'll find links on how to get started with any of those types of funding options if you're looking to use those. And then finally, we're opening it up for questions if you were not able to ask questions previously.
Ray, two questions came in. Upon graduation from the entire program, what did the students receive? And then the second, are there any graduates from your program that the students can talk to?
Okay, well, to answer the first question, you will get a UC Davis certificate when you complete the Cyber Academy Defense course, and you will get a second certificate when you complete the attack course. So you get 2 official UC Davis certificates.
We also, I'll just add to that real quick. We also will award students who successfully complete the defense or the attack course a digital badge in addition to that certificate. So the digital badge is used on other platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook that is awarded through Credly, which will show the skills you gained in the courses. And employers can click on that badge and see exactly what specifically those skills are.
Okay, as far as talking to students who graduated from the program, the first group of UC Davis students are currently making their way through the program. So we don't have graduates. If you really want to talk to someone, we do have some students who have graduated elsewhere, and I may be able to get someone to consent to talk to you. Certainly, you could also talk to our mentors if that would be something of value to you, and we can set that up. But we have been running this program for a few years now, so we do have students who have successfully completed the program.
Okay, so another question is asking how big are the cohorts? So speaking from our program, again, as Ray mentioned, we had just started it, so we only have one cohort to use as reference, and they typically begin at about 5 to 6 students, and then from there it just depends on how many students decide to continue, because as Ray mentioned with the immediate immersion course, some students take that course and then decide that this is not what they want to do, or that it's not what they thought it would be, or that they have the skills for it. So the cohorts may get smaller once you go into the next courses.
And we are certainly glad to have a larger cohort than that. So, I mean, if we got 50 students, that would certainly be fine as well. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that you'll be in group meetings with whatever number of students it is. Your group meetings with your mentor will be small. It'll be 5 to maybe 8 at a max students in your scheduled mentor meetings. And then, of course, you could have one-on-one meetings with your mentor as well. Okay, is there another question, John, Lynette?
Yeah, so here's another question that says, how does this course fit next to the other certifications that you can put on a resume with cybersecurity? So CISA, ITIL, CompTIA+, etc.
Okay, well, there is a changing attitude among a lot of people in the industry about those certifications. And there's a phrase that you'll hear, paper tiger. And what it is somebody who has these certifications but can't do the work. And our charge from the Department of Defense was not to prepare people to pass these multiple choice certification exams, but rather to give them the skills to do the work. So that is what our program does. if you want a certification, if you believe that's of value to you, probably the best entry-level certification is CompTIA Security Plus. We do not prepare you for that, but you will certainly have the foundational knowledge to quickly cram for the test. And you can certainly buy an inexpensive book, or if you're interested, there actually is a course that we recommend on Udemy that if you hit it at the right time, you can get for like about $10.99 or something, which is a cram course for the CompTIA Security Plus course. You'll hear people kick around all these other certifications like CISSP, or Certified Ethical Hacker. CISSP requires 5 years of documented paid professional experience to take the test. Certified Ethical Hacker takes, I believe, 2 years of documented experience. So anyway, we will teach you the skills, and if you want to piggyback a certification on top of that, we'll be glad to point you in the right direction to make it easy to get one.
Okay, thanks, Ray. So right now it looks like that's it for questions. John, I don't know if you see any other questions?
No, I think we're good. I think we're clear right now.
Okay, great. So we'll just wrap up then. Thank you, Ray, for joining us.
We will be following up with each of the attendees today, and we want to thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you all very much for sharing some of your day with us. And we hope if you find this interesting that you'll register for the program, and maybe this will be a step towards a new career.
Yep, and then you guys can send us questions, as you think of them later. So we'll follow up later today or tomorrow with all the attendees.
And they will forward any questions to me that I'm perhaps the best person to answer. So I can certainly interact with you as well.
Yep, we'll do that as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.